Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about conic section 3. These are ellipses. So if you'll notice the two equations, you'll notice they both have plus signs, they're both equal to 1. In order for an ellipse to be in standard form, it has to have a plus sign between the two fractions and has to be equal to 1. If it is not equal to 1, it is not in standard form yet. Now, if you look at the denominators, they both have an a squared and a b squared in the exact same spot. So how do we determine whether it's a horizontal or a vertical ellipse? If it's a horizontal, you have x first, your x minus h. And if it's a vertical ellipse, we have y first, y minus k. So how do we determine which one comes first? We look at the denominators. The bigger denominator always goes first. Now we can't decide that until we have it equal to 1. So you must do your division first, then decide which one has the bigger denominator so you can set it up in standard form. Today, I'm not really going to focus on the foci or the distance from the center to the foci. I'm not going to ask you to find those this time around. Just know those are the equations, so if you ever need to find them, you can. We're going to focus on finding the center, the length of the major axis, the length of the minor axis, along with the points of the ellipse. Those are the things that I'm going to ask you to find. So let's take a second and we're going to come down here and we are going to find our examples. So let's focus on the first one. Notice I still have an x squared, I have a y squared, I have my constant. We're going to treat it just like we have treated any conic section before. We're going to group our x's together and we're going to group our y's together. So the first step is rewriting it, grouping our things together. So I have 25x squared plus 100x, and then in my second parenthesis I have 36y squared minus 216, and at the same time I'm going to go ahead and take a second and move the constant to the other side. So to move the negative 476 to the other side, I have to add it. So next, just like we did completing the square before, I can't complete the square if I have a coefficient. So I need to factor out. Now I'm not going to move it to the other side, I am just going to pull it out. So what does this first one have in common? 25. So I'm going to factor out a 25. Leaves me with x squared plus 4x. And I'm going to go ahead and put my plus blank in there that I'm going to have to fill in later. The second one, I need to factor out a 36. So that leaves me with y squared minus 6y. Again, I'm going to add my blank in there. So on the other side, that all equals 476. And just like before, if I had 2 blanks to one side, I need to add 2 blanks to the other to keep it balanced. So in the first blank, we're going to fill it in just like we did. So we always look at our b value, so it's b over 2 squared. So I'm going to put that on the blank on the other side. But did I add just one copy of that? No. I added 25 copies of it, so I need to bring that 25 over to the other side too, because I didn't just add one copy of it, I added 25. So now if I go to the next one, My b value is 6, so it's 6 over 2 squared. And again, I added 36 copies of that. So it's going to be 36 times 6 over 2 squared. So let's go ahead and do our factoring. My equation becomes 25. Bring down my letter, bring down my sign. Half of 4 is 2. Put a squared on the outside. Plus 36. Bring down my letter, bring down my sign. Half of 6 is 3. Squared on the outside. And when I combine all of my constants, I get 900. So, like I said up above, this is not in standard form until I get equal to 1. So I'm going to divide everything by 900. When I do, I'm going to get x plus 2 squared over 36 plus y minus 3 squared over 25 equal to 1. So I check. Does it have a plus sign in the middle? Yes. Is it equal to 1? Yes. Is my biggest coefficient or my biggest denominator first? Yes. That is the standard form of the equation. And so now I'm going to get everything else I need. So since my x-coordinate is first, I know this is going to be a horizontal ellipse. In other words, the horizontal is going to be longer. My center, same thing, it goes with HK. So with x is a -2, with y is a +3. So my center is at -2, 3. My major axis, I am going to take this number, okay, 36. So that tells me that a squared equals 36. So if I square root both sides, a equals 6. The length of my major axis is always 2a. So that is 2 times 6, which is 12. Finally, my minor axis, I'm going to look at this number. So b squared equals 25. So b equals 5. So the length of my minor axis is 2 times 5, which is 10. So now, last thing I need to worry about is graphing it. Again, we are not going to concern ourselves this year with foci. But if you have a question on it, I'd be happy to answer it. First things first, we're going to plot our points. So at -2, +3. From there, I am going to do my major axis. I know my major axis is my horizontal. So my major axis is 12 units long. That means it's 6 on either side. So I just count out 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put a point. Okay, I'm going horizontal from the center. I'm going to count 6 the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put another point. That is the end point of my major axis. That is why it is 12 units long. From beginning to end, it's 12 units long. So for my minor axis, I'm going to go the opposite way. So I'm going to go up and down. So b is 5, so I need to go 5 up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I need to go 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives me my points for my ellipse. So I'm going to ask you to write your points on your assignments, and it will be part of the graded assignment you need to do. So I'm just writing down the points. So it's 4, 3. It is -2, +8. It is -8, 3. And -2, -2. I will now just connect those points in the best oval that I can. Okay, now this one may look somewhat circular, or at least close to a circle, and that is because the length of the major and minor axis is only 1 unit off. If they were both 6, if A was 6 and B was 6, it would be a circle. So the closer those numbers are together, the closer it's going to resemble a circle. So let's go over to number 2. Now what's different about number 2 is I don't have a regular y. I just have a y squared. That's okay, we're going to treat it exactly the same. So I'm going to group my x's together. So it is 16x squared minus 32x plus 4y squared equals 48. Now, since the 4y squared does not have just a y, I don't need to complete the square. I can just factor it out and put a 0 there. So the first one, I am going to go ahead, I'm going to factor out the 16. So that's going to be x squared minus 2x plus blank. Plus, I'm going to factor out the 4. And that's just going to be y squared inside. Equals 48. Now I only need to add 1 blank to keep it balanced because I only factored or added 1 blank on the other side. So for this blank, I'm going to look at this value. So that's 2 over 2 squared. Now I need 16 copies of that. So over here is going to be 16 times 2 over 2 squared. So let's factor it. The 16, this just becomes x minus half of 2 is 1 squared plus 4. If I want to factor it, you can put a y minus or plus 0. Doesn't matter. That'll remind me that I have a place value. My y coordinate is 0. You don't have to have it. You can just leave it as y squared if you want. Equals 64. So again, first thing I need to do here, divide everything by 64. When I do that, I get x minus 1 squared over 4 plus y squared or y minus 0 squared, either one, over 16 equals 1. Now I ask myself, is that in the correct form? Is my bigger denominator first? It's not, so we need to flip-flop them. So this is going to become either y squared, or if you like the placeholder of y minus 0 squared over 16 plus x minus 1 squared over 4 equals 1. Since my y coordinate is first, that means this is going to be a vertical ellipse. My center, my x coordinate, the number that goes with my x is a 1. The number that goes with my y is 0. So if I look at the first term, so my major axis, a squared equals 16. That means a equals 4. So my major axis is 8 units long because it's 2 times 4. go back to my equation. 4 goes along with my minor axis. So b squared equals 4. So b equals 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So let's graph it. First thing I always plot is my center. So 1, 0. Now my vertical is a vertical ellipse, so my major axis goes up and down. So I go up 4 and I go down 4. Okay. That right there is my major axis. My minor axis, b equals 2, so I go 2 to the left and 2 to the right. That is my minor axis. Therefore, those are my points. So I have my points for my ellipse are 3, 0, 4, sorry, nope, going the wrong way, 1, 4, -1, 0, and 1, -4. I'll then take my pencil and, doing the best rounded shape I can, I will make my ellipse. And that is all there is for ellipses. I hope this video was helpful. Again, let me know if you need anything by email.